Hello, English learners! Welcome to a new podcast episode here on Story Orbit N. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Tom. Welcome back. We're so excited you're here because today's topic is one of my favorites. It's something we all experience and sometimes even hate supermarkets.
Yes, so if you've ever walked into a supermarket and felt completely confused about what to say in English, or you've had a funny experience while shopping, this is for you.
Oh, yeah. And I have so many funny supermarket stories to share that I don't even know where to start. But before we jump into the adventures, let's tell our listeners what they're going to learn today.
Great idea. So today you'll learn vocabulary for packaging like carton, jar, and can. We'll also talk about food names that are different in British and American English, like eggplants versus aubergine. We'll teach you some useful supermarket phrases, explain common mistakes, and have lots of fun with funny stories.
And you'll also learn some grammar tips, like how to use to structure a bottle of water and not make those little mistakes that can make you sound unnatural. So stay until the end because we'll also give you tips to practice English at the supermarket.
Okay, let's start at the entrance. You walk into a supermarket, the doors open, beep beep, and the first thing you do is grab a shopping cart or a basket.
Right. But here's the first tricky part. In American English, we say shopping cart. But in British English, they say trolley. So if you're in London and you say, "Where can I find a shopping cart?" People will probably understand, but it sounds American. They expect trolley.
Exactly. And if you're in the US and say trolley, people might think of a little train. So remember, US, cart, UK, trolley. Easy, right?
And then there's the baskets. A basket is the smaller one you carry with your hand. For example, if you only need bread and milk, you say, "I'll take a basket."
Now, here's a fun fact. I once went to a supermarket in the UK and I heard someone say, "Do you need a carrier bag?" I had no idea what that meant at first. A carrier bag is just a plastic bag. In the US, they just say bags or plastic bags. So if you're in England and they ask, "Do you need a carrier bag?" Don't panic, they're not talking about something weird.
Now, let's go to the produce section. By the way, let's explain that word because it's tricky. The word produce as a noun means fruits and vegetables, but as a verb, produce means to make something.
Good explanation. So in the produce section, you'll see apples, bananas, lettuce, tomatoes, and then some very confusing vegetables.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about those words that change completely between American and British English. For example, in the US, we say zucchini, but in the UK, they say courgette. In the US, eggplant. In the UK, aubergine.
And here's the thing, if you ask for an eggplant in London, they might look at you like you're crazy, so remember these differences. Let's describe them for our listeners. Zucchinis, or courgettes, is a long green vegetable similar to a cucumber, but you cook it. Eggplants or aubergine is a big purple vegetable that you usually bake or grill.
And then there's cilantro versus coriander. In American English, the fresh green leaves are called cilantros, but in British English, they usually say coriander. Same plant, different names.
I had a funny experience with that. I was in a store in New York and asked for coriander, and the guy was like, "What?" He said, "Do you mean cilantro?" So yeah, I learned that lesson fast.
In parsley versus cilantro, they look so similar. One time, I grabbed cilantro thinking it was parsley, added it to my pasta sauce, big mistake. The taste was so strong. So read the labels carefully, people.
Now let's talk about packaging vocabulary. This is super useful. When you're shopping, you don't just say, "I want milk." You usually say, "I want a carton of milk." That word carton is important. It means a container made of cardboard or paper, usually for liquids. For example, a carton of juice or a carton of eggs.
And speaking of eggs, we say a carton of eggs because that little box that holds 12 eggs is called a carton.
Another common word is bottle. Everyone knows it, but don't forget to use of. We say a bottle of water, a bottle of wine, a bottle of milk, not a bottle water. That little of is important. It's a preposition that connects the container to the thing inside.
Exactly. So the structure is a container of thing. For example, a jar of jam, a can of beans, a pack of gum. Let's explain those. A jar is usually made of glass and has a lid, like for peanut butter or jam. A can is metal for drinks or food, like a can of soda or a can of tuna. And a pack is for a group of things, like a pack of cookies or a pack of cards.
Oh, and there's a loaf of bread. That's a good one because you can't just say one bread. In English, we say a loaf of bread for one whole bread and two loaves of bread for two. The plural changes to loaves, not loafs.
Good catch. And then for meat, you might hear a pound of beef or half a pound of cheese. Those are measurements. In the UK, they might say a kilo of apples because they use the metric system. So remember, US, pounds, UK, kilos.
Okay, time for some funny stories. Tom, give us your best one.
Oh, wow, okay. One time, I was in a hurry and grabbed what I thought was sugar. Got home, made coffee, added the sugar, and it was salt. Worst coffee of my life.
Oh no, that's a nightmare. Always read the label, people. And that's a good vocabulary word, label. A label is the little sticker or piece of paper on a product that gives information like the name, ingredients, and price. For example, check the label before you buy.
Yes. And another time, I saw a guy in the supermarket who opened a bag of chips and started eating them while shopping. Then he tried to leave without paying. That's called shoplifting. Shoplifting means stealing from a store.
Oh wow, that reminds me of an expression, don't judge a book by its cover. But honestly, in supermarkets, maybe judge the guy eating chips before paying. Now let's move to the checkout. That's where you pay. And here are some phrases you'll hear, paper or plastic. That means the cashier wants to know if you want a paper bag or a plastic bag.
Yes. Or they might say, do you need a bag? If you say yes, you might have to pay for it because in many countries, bags aren't free anymore.
Another phrase, would you like to sign up for our rewards program? That means they have a special program where you can get discounts or points.
And don't forget the word receipt. A receipt is the paper you get after paying that shows what you bought. So you can say, could I have a receipt, please?
Now, let's talk about one of my favorite parts of the supermarket, the bakery.
Oh, yes. The smell of fresh bread? That's heaven. But also, so many words to learn. For example, do you know what a baguette is?
That's a good one. A baguette is a long, thin loaf of French bread.
And then there's roll. A roll is a small piece of bread, usually round. So you could say, I'll have 2 rolls, please.
And don't forget croissants. Another French word we use in English, it's that crescent-shaped pastry.
Here's a funny story. I once tried to order a croissant in a really fancy voice. Like, I'll have a croissant with a perfect French accent. The cashier just stared at me and said, you mean a croissant, in the most American way ever.
Ha ha, I love that. And here's an important word, loaf. Remember, one whole bread is called a loaf. You can say, I need a loaf of white bread or a loaf of whole wheat bread. And the plural is loaves, not loafs.
Oh, and here's a grammar tip connected to this. We use part of this for uncountable nouns. Bread is uncountable, so we can't say 2 breads. We say 2 loaves of bread. Same with 2 pieces of cake, not 2 cakes, unless you mean 2 whole cakes.
Another interesting section is the dairy aisle. That's where you find milk, butter, cheese, yogurt, and so many brands.
Yes. And here's something funny. I once accidentally bought heavy cream instead of milk. I wanted milk for my cereal, but I got heavy cream. I poured it, and it was like thick soup. My cereal was drowning in cream.
That sounds terrible. Let's explain the words milk, cream, and butters. Milk is the liquid from cows that most people drink. Cream is thicker than milk and used in desserts or coffee. And butters is the yellow solid you spread on bread.
And don't forget cheese. There are so many types of cheese. Cheddar, mozzarella, parmesan. If you want to practice English, read cheese labels. They often have funny descriptions like A's for 12 months or extra sharp.
And then there's the frozen section. That's where the real adventures happen. Pizza, ice cream, frozen vegetables. You have a story about that?
Oh, yes. I once dropped a box of ice cream on the floor and it exploded everywhere. Chocolate ice cream on my shoes, on the floor, even on my jeans. Everyone was looking at me like I was a little kid.
That's a nightmare. And here's some vocabulary. Frozen food means food kept at very low temperatures so it stays good for a long time. For example, I bought some frozen peas. The opposite is fresh food, like fresh vegetables. Now, Tom, let's talk about supermarket etiquette. Things you should and shouldn't do.
Good idea. For example, don't block the aisle with your cart. An aisle is the passage between shelves in the supermarket. If you leave your cart in the middle, people can't pass. And here's an expression, cutting in line. That means going in front of other people who are waiting. Don't cut in line at the checkout. People will get very angry.
Oh, definitely. And here's a tip for our listeners. If you need to ask someone to move their cart, you can say, "Excuse me, could I get by?" That's polite and very natural.
Yes. One of my favorite places is the international aisle. That's where you find foods from different countries. Have you ever explored that section? I once found a jar of something called Marmite. It's a British bread made from yeast extract, and wow, it was intense.
Haha. Yes, Marmite is famous for being something you either love or hate. And in the same aisle, you might find noodles from Asia, spices from India, sauces from Mexico.
Here's some vocabulary. Spices are dry parts of plants that add flavor to food, like cinnamon, paprika, cumin, and sauce is a liquid or semi-liquid food, like tomato sauce, soy sauce, or hot sauce.
And don't forget to look at the packaging. You might see words like imported, which means it comes from another country. For example, this is imported Italian pasta. Okay. Before we finish, let's teach a quick grammar tip. When we talk about uncountable nouns like milk, bread, sugars, we don't say one milk. We say a bottle of milk or a loaf of bread. So the container or unit makes it countable.
Yes, and some more supermarket vocabulary. Aisle, cashier, discount. For example, an aisle is the passage between shelves in the supermarket. A cashier is the person at the checkout. A discount is when something is cheaper than usual. For example, this product has a 10% discount.
Let's do a quick role play. I'll be the cashier and you'll be the customer. Ready?
Okay, let's go.
Hi there. Did you find everything you needed today?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Great! Do you have a loyalty card?
No, I don't. What is a loyalty card?
Good question. A loyalty card is a special card that gives you discounts if you shop often. For example, I get points on my loyalty card every time I buy something.
Oh, okay. No, I don't have one.
No problem. That'll be $25.50.
Could I pay by car?
Sure. Please insert your card and enter your PIN.
And could I have a receipt, please?
Of course. Here you go. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Great. Before we finish, let's give our listeners some tips on how to practice English at the supermarket.
Great idea. First, make your shopping list in English. Instead of writing items in your native language, write them in English. For example, write bread instead of another word for it, or milk instead of how you usually say it.
Yes. And second, read the labels on products. Labels are full of vocabulary like ingredients, nutrition facts, serving size.
And third, listen to the announcements in the store if you're in an English-speaking country. They often say things like, "Attention shoppers, today we have a special on apples."
And finally, talk to people. Ask the staff, "Excuse me, where can I find the bread?" Or, "Could you tell me where the eggs are?" Practicing small questions is great for confidence.
Wow, that was a lot today. Relearn supermarket vocabulary, packaging words like carton, jar, can, expressions for the checkout, and some cultural differences between American and British English. And we laughed about salt coffee and people eating chips before paying. Supermarkets can be really funny places.
Remember, you can practice English every time you go shopping. Read the labels, make your shopping list in English, and even talk to yourself in English while picking things.
And if you like this episode, share it with a friend who's learning English too.
Thanks for listening to Story Orbit N. We'll see you next time.
Bye everyone. Happy shopping!